Well, I did that again, and I'm going to show you the Hustler magazine that they did the article about. It was April of '84, and this is just the top of the article there by Larry Flint. Oh, he was shot, and the guy was programmed to shoot him. Now then, this is just a follow-up. I think this will be number 4, tape, and the title is "What Would You Do?" I'm coming up the side of the mountain and on the Appalachian Trail. Very hard when you got a backpack filled with. I had to get things that would last, so because I didn't have money, and anyway, the backpack would be full with potatoes, which are heavy, and anyway, more than once I would be passed. Nobody offers you anything, and they even wrote articles about me along the trail when I would try to tell people about the mind control murders and about my kidnapping. Well, they just called me crazy and terrible names, and no one helped. um, anyway, this one, more than once has happened, but this once is what I'm going to tell now. The guy, if I'm not mistaken, he passed me, said hi, and then it was like he waited on me before we got up the trail because I'd have to sit and rest. It was like 3 miles up the trail and then into Troutville. It was into the post office and store and back. It was another, what? There's many days that I've walked 10, 15 miles easy, carrying a backpack and cold winter, sleet, snow, heat. But anyway, he told me, this is what he said. He said, I would help you, but a friend of mine helped you from Alabama, and they fired him, and he can't get a job. So and I'm going to jump to this one here in Roanoke. When I first came here, I was told that by the citizens here, that they were told prior to me coming not to help me, and they wouldn't. But specifically, there was this is at Delville, Troutville. There's an intersection there, Roanoke Road and Williamson Road or Lee Highway. And you go on down Lee Highway and you're to the post office and to Troutville, and the Appalachian Trail crosses there. Well, back then there was it was an Exxon station, and it was right in the spot there that was lucrative. They got a lot of restaurants and off the interstate there, so he got a lot of trafficking. He also, his name was Lovell, I believe, or Lovett. I can't remember because the name Lovett or Lovell also applies to a mind control murder that happened in Bedford with the Ian Zorings, diplomat's son there. But anyway, I was walking past his store when I would come just to try to beg for some food or what is it, Roman noodles or ramen noodles, which gives you nothing. I ate so many times just when I could get them. But it's shocking how people won't help you. They hate you. It's really a new experience. If you have to be in a certain circumstance and where people are afraid of repercussions is really it. Repercussions takes different forms, your jobs, your kids, etc. People will turn their back and actually stab you in the back in those circumstances. But I would stop by the Exxon, and he had coffee. And sometimes I think the gentlemen, they were at least nice enough to me. They didn't. It's kind of bad to be born the Queen of England and taken from your father and your mother and all the torture brought to this hellhole over here. I was born before they took down my father, and Elizabeth stole it. Probably one of the wealthiest women in the world, and here they've made a pauper. Me beg. They've broken every law in the book. They put antifreeze in me. They have done so many things I can't put it on here, and I'm not sure people even want to hear it. It's much easier to look at this woman who stole it from me, or her father, and she certainly hasn't done a thing other than try to start a new world order. What do you think she's doing? She's with the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. She has no intent of giving anything back to me or to the British, which she's helped steal it from, the traitor. So back to the Lovetts. They had a garage at Exxon station, and a lot of state troopers' cars would be taken there to be fixed and be sitting there. Well, I went by one day, and he had coffee, and so when I walked, I'd go by and get a cup of coffee. And that one day, I had no food or anything, not even mittens in the cold, and I was told by one lady I was going to go to a church. I was so cold I couldn't take it. And she says, because church was in, I thought, well, surely they won't deny me, which is a joke. They will, too. She says, oh, they won't help you. And she did buy me a pair of gloves there at the CVS pharmacy, the store there, drugstore. But I'm losing the point. The point is the Lovett or Lovell, I can't remember, I think it's, well, anyway, station, Exxon station, was, I went in there the one time, and his wife was sitting there on the stool by the coffee, and she was a bit of an artist herself and had put a few of her paintings up on the wall, just like my Aunt George O'Keeffe. I guess that was kind of the thing there, associated a little. Or maybe she just did it, I don't know, had them hanging there. But she was sitting there, and I never saw her again after then. All those years, I never saw her again. She told me, she said, you know, she handed me $2, and she said to me, she said, people around here all know what's happened to you and what's happening, and they don't want to get involved. They're not going to help you. Well, it was, I never saw her again, but her husband, I went in there later and stopped by there later, and I had begun having some income then, and I bought an old car. I didn't mean to, and it wrecked. I mean, I lost every penny I put. Anyway, it was horrible what happened. But anyway, I went to him for that reason, see if he could come over and jumpstart it or something. He told me that he couldn't because they would get him. He was referring to the law enforcement. So I went, well, he did help me. He did end up helping me. And for some reason, I had to go back up to his station, and I guess maybe that was the reason when I think of it. It was IRS was auditing him, and they were there in his offices and around. There was about 2 or 3 of them. So it wasn't long after then, so he was shut down. So I can't go on, and I don't even know where my sons Mark and Scott are. It's odd that I watch and know that the maintenance all along the way, you talk about killers. If you talk about what Snowden, Edward Snowden's telling, you have to stop and wonder how, well, I don't wonder, Edward Snowden gets into the national security. Somebody had to have wanted him to, he couldn't have just done all that. So check out Edward and Snowden, the name, where it fits in, if you care to. I haven't made anything up. I can't walk hardly. So the point is that at least at this time, I can try to get on a bus and go somewhere else. Maybe, I'm not sure I can. And then I run out of money, and what do? I really am shut down because everybody's afraid of it. And they don't care. But I want to go back to a doctor that I trusted, one doctor I trusted right or wrong before the antifreeze was put in me April 1st of 80. He called me the day before where I was at. And the woman, by the way, I thought was a friend, and she helped put the antifreeze in me that night, and so she wasn't.